Let's pay homage to Supreme Buddha. We say he Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I pay homage to my teacher, Lokaswami Maharaj. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Last week we discussed Sutta. Supreme Buddha explained us about a religious teacher. Can you remember the name of that teacher? Yes, the teacher Araka. So the discourse also was named as Araka Sutta. In that Sutta, the Blessed One explained long ago there was a teacher, religious teacher named Araka. And can you remember the way the teacher Araka explained his teachings to his disciples? Yes? Yes, through similes, what did he want to explain to his disciples? He explained, this life is very short. Can you remember? And this life is brief, limited. No one can escape from the death. If someone is born, then they will have to face for the death. Kartabbam kusalam. So you must do wholesome things. Charitabbam brahmacharya. You must live a pure life. Can you remember? Natti jata samarana. No one can escape the death. And then Supreme Buddha explained, when this teacher Araka was explaining his teachings in this way to his disciples, can you remember the lifespan of those human beings in that period? No, lifespan 60,000 years. 60,000 years. Lifespan was 60,000 years. So then, though the lifespan is so long, he advised to his disciples, saying that this life is very short. And how many diseases were there? 6 diseases. What are those?
Death.
No. Cold, heat, hunger, thirst, excrement, urine. Can you remember? Though there are only those 6 diseases, the teacher Araka advised, instructed his disciples, saying that this life is much suffering. So you must make your effort to understand this life in this way. So then the Blessed One advised us, can you remember? If someone could say rightly, he must say this explanation today itself. Because when we compare the lifespan today with those beings, those human beings, today lifespan is very short, 100 years or little more than 100 years. So that is why, and can you remember the advice Buddha made at the end of the sutta? Yes. If a teacher with compassion should do something for the disciples because of out of that compassion, then I have done that task for you. Katang votang maya. Etani bhikkave rukkha moolani. These are the roots of trees or monks. Etani sunnyagarani. These are empty huts. Jayata bhikkave. O monks, go and meditate. Don't regret later. Can you remember? So, did you meditate at home? Good. So, especially now we have to understand this opportunity with us. At least we must try to achieve the Sotapanna stage in this very life. Otherwise we will miss this opportunity to escape from hell, animal world and ghost world. So this is a great opportunity to have that assurance to this life. So we have been discussing lot of things about this assurance. To achieve this Sotapanna stage, we have to understand the cause and effect system in this life, and with that understanding, we have to eradicate Sakkaya Ditthi, identity view. So we must try to understand these things. To eradicate identity view, Sakkaya Ditthi, we have to understand the real nature of these 6 faculties. We have been discussing so many discourses about the way to understand the real nature of these 6 faculties and 5 aggregates of clinging. Okay, so especially as a noble disciple, we have to develop a factor in our life, as Supreme Buddha understood. That factor is called right mindfulness, Samma Sati. Samma Sati. To develop that right mindfulness, first of all, in our life, Samma Ditthi, right view should be established. What is the meaning of right view? Knowledge of Four Noble Truths. So there should be a clear knowledge about the origination of suffering and end of suffering as Noble Truths with the real teachings of Buddha. Then that noble disciple is able to have that right view. Then he has to purify his body and speech with the help of precepts. Then step by step, the noble disciple should develop his mindfulness to achieve the concentration. Because that concentrated mind is very important to understand the real nature of this life. Then that concentration will help to develop the wisdom. That wisdom will make a background to achieve the liberation. That's why the Noble Eightfold Path is with 3 aggregates. First one is Sila Khandha, the aggregate of virtue. Samadhi Khandha, aggregate of concentration. Panya Khandha, aggregate of wisdom. So, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Is it clear? But before follow precepts, there should be a clear knowledge of Four Noble Truths. That's why first of all the right view should be established in that noble disciple's life. With that right view, then very clearly he will follow the precepts without practicing any other observances, rituals, and those things. That's why it's called the precepts with right view, Arekanta Sila. Then that noble disciple will be able to develop the concentration with the help of that same right view. Then it will be a Are Samadhi, noble concentration. The target is, what is the target of developing that meditation or that concentration? Understanding the Four Noble Truths. Is it clear? Then with that help of the noble concentration, then that noble disciple will be able to achieve the Arya Panya, noble wisdom. Again, what is the meaning of wisdom? Four Noble Truths. With the initial stage, that right view is not a completed one. It is in the initial level. So with the help of precepts and concentration, then step by step that same right view or wisdom will be developed. Then with the help of the noble wisdom, then the noble disciple will be able to achieve the liberation. It's called Arya Vimukti, noble liberation, ultimate deliverance, liberation from craving, liberation from suffering. Is it clear? It's called noble liberation, Arya Vimukti. Having achieved the noble liberation, then the noble disciple will have a knowledge that as an Arahant, completing the Noble Eightfold Path, as an Arahant, then Arahant will have a knowledge that he has escaped from suffering. It's called Vimukti Jnana Dassana, the knowledge of liberation of suffering. Very clear part. And lot of instructions from the greatest teacher. So I wanted to discuss with you especially that factor mindfulness. Now is it clear the way of achieving the liberation step by step? So in that way of achieving liberation, to have a concentrated mind, the right mindfulness is very important. Because Supreme Buddha explains, if someone has the right mindfulness, then he will have the right concentration. Is it clear? Okay. So when we develop this right mindfulness, especially we have to do meditation, and we have to pay attention on our body, feelings, mind, and other phenomenon factors, 6 faculties, 5 aggregates of clingings, and these things. So anyway, in one sutta, Supreme Buddha explains, in this world, there are 4 kinds of noble disciples. If he is a noble disciple of Buddha, then he follows one of these ways. How many ways are there? 4 ways. First one is Sukha Patipada Danda Binya. The Supreme Buddha explains, in this world, there are some noble disciples. By nature, the passion, hatred and delusion is not a problem to that noble disciple. Because those conditions are not strongly established in his mind by nature. Can you understand? So that noble disciple doesn't suffer of those bad conditions of mind. So easily he can eradicate them. When anger comes, or passion comes, easily he can eradicate. So then the Blessed One explains, so he can develop the meditation, concentration, because those obstacles are not in his mind to develop the meditation. So easily he can develop his mind to achieve the first jhana, second jhana, and third jhana, and fourth jhana. Can you understand? Okay. The concentration levels of mind, the meditative absorptions, easily he can achieve. It is called Sukha Patipada. These are 4 progresses. Sukha Patipada means, so his way of practicing this Dhamma is pleasant. Can you understand? Way of practicing this Dhamma is, that way is a pleasant way, because he has that concentration of his mind. But Danda Vinya means slow realization. He achieved the realization slowly. Though he has a concentrated mind, his realization is slow one. The reason is, Buddha explains, in his life, these 5 faculties are not strongly established. What are the 5 faculties? Pancha Indriya, Saddha, confidence of Buddha, Virya, effort, Sati, mindfulness, Samadhi, concentration, Panya, wisdom. These are called 5 faculties, Pancha Indriya. When an ordinary person comes to this dispensation, having heard this Dhamma, at the first stage, he establishes these 5 factors. From that stage, he is not an ordinary person, he is a noble disciple. Is it clear? So, to the point of achieving arahantship, then step by step these 5 faculties are developed. Then after achieving the arahantship, these 5 faculties are fulfilled. Is it clear? So what is the case with this first noble disciple? Though he has a concentrated mind, these 5 faculties are slowly developed. So his realization is a slow one. Is it clear, the first one? Okay. Then the second one, second progress, Sukha Patipada Kippa Vinya. Again, he has that second noble disciple who has a concentrated mind. He develops his mind easily to the jhanas. And so his way of practicing this Dhamma is a pleasant way, because he has a concentrated mind. Kippa Vinya. Realization is a quick one. Quick one means, then the first noble disciple, this second noble disciple can understand, can achieve the realization quickly, quicker than the first noble disciple. What is the reason? In his life, these 5 faculties are well established, strongly established. What are those faculties? Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. These things come from birth because of merit. No one can identify these faculties by noticing externally. Only Buddha can identify. because Buddha has a special faculty. It's called Indriya Paropariyata Jnana, the knowledge to understand the various faculties of beings. Is it clear? Okay. He is the second noble disciple. Then the third noble disciple, Dukkha Patipada Dandaha Vinya. Now his Patipada is Dukkha. Dukkha means not pleasant. Painful way of practicing the Dhamma. What's the painful way? By nature, in his mind, the passion, hatred and delusion is in a high level. So usually he suffers because of this passion.
How do you give up those things to concentrate?
Yes, but it is not easy. Yes.
It's a fight. He's fighting it.
He is fighting and it's an obstacle.
So to pursue, he has to work kind of harder.
That's the thing. Is it clear? So he hasn't a well concentrated mind, but he is fighting to have a concentrated mind. It is struggling. So his way of practicing this Dhamma is not a pleasant way. That's why that way is called as painful way. Is it clear? Because as obstacles there are those 5 hindrances, Pancha Nivarana. Is it clear? Okay. Then Dukkha Patipada Danda Vinya, as well as his realization is a slow one. What's the reason? Again, those 5 faculties are not in a matured way, not strongly established. Is it clear? Okay. Now we are in these 4 progresses, okay? One of these progresses. So we can understand. Then the last noble disciple is known as the Dukkha Patipada Kippa Bhinya. Again, by nature, passion, hatred and delusion in his mind is in a high level. So he is struggling to eradicate them. But it is not easy. But at the same time, though he is struggling to achieve a concentrated mind, these 5 faculties are strongly established in his life. So, though his way of practicing this Dhamma is a painful one, realization is a quick one. It's called Kippa Bhinya. Is it clear? Now Buddha explains, with the first 2 noble disciples, they are okay. Because they can develop this Dhamma with the help of that concentrated mind. But when we consider about the other 2 disciples, who are they? With practicing the way in a painful way and with slow realization. Then the second, practicing the way in a painful way with quick realization. Buddha explains, with these 2 disciples, they should develop 5 perceptions, 5 meditations to achieve the liberation. First one, how many meditations should they develop? 5. First one is Asubhanupassi Kaya Viharati. They must develop the meditation of foulness, repulsiveness of the body. We have talked about these things. So he must develop that meditation. He must develop the perception of the foul things of this body. Thinking about the head hairs, body hairs, teeth, skin, nails, bones, and these things, kidneys, liver, and these in this way. Is it clear? and about other liquids in this body, tears, sweat, and urine in this way. Then it is the first one. Second one, ahare patikkula sanyi. Must develop the perception of foulness of food. Can you understand? Foulness of food. He must develop his mindfulness to understand the real nature of food he takes, when he takes. He must develop his mindfulness to understand what kind of thing is this food. When he take the lunch plate, so many curries, and then mix all together and take to the mouth and mix with saliva and goes into his stomach. And what will happen at the end? In this way. Think about this enlightenment of Buddha. So all the ways of realization are with us. Only thing is, until we listen to this Dhamma, we don't know. If we listen to this Dhamma, then the only thing is, we have to pay our mindfulness. This is the second one. Third one, Supreme Buddha explains, anicca-anupassi viharati. The meditation of impermanence. We have discussed these things. How to do the impermanent meditation? You have to think, this I is impermanent. Forms are impermanent. Consciousness of I is impermanent. Are you doing this meditation? You have to do. Then the contact of I is impermanent. And the feeling bond of the contact of I is impermanent. Can you understand? Okay, in this way, you have to think about your ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. This is called impermanent meditation. Now how many meditations? We discussed 3. Fourth one, sabbaloke anabhijata sanyi viharati. Sabbaloke, loka means world. Sabba means all words. Sabbaloke anabhijata sanyi means he develops his mindfulness not to cling to any world. How to develop that meditation? We have discussed the meditation of 5 aggregates of clinging. Can you understand? Can you remember? We discussed the way of developing the mindfulness to understand, let's suppose about form. What is the way to understand the real nature of form? The way of developing mindfulness? Can you remember we discussed in Mahapunnama Sutta? Whatever form, whether in past, future, in present, and internal or external. Then gross or subtle. Then inferior or superior. Far or near. All the forms are impermanent. Not mine. Not myself. Can you understand? When the noble disciple considers wisely in this way, then his mind doesn't cling to any form throughout the world system. Because all the forms are included in this area. Can you understand? In this way, forms, feelings, perceptions, formations and consciousness. 5 aggregates. If the noble disciple does these 5 aggregates of clinging the meditation of 5 aggregates of clinging, it is the way of developing the Sabbaloke Anabhirata Sanya. Can you understand? This enchanting to all worlds. When he thinks, oh, if I can enjoy having born among gods, if that thought comes to his mind, then at once he reminds this Dhamma, this meditation. No, that life is also impermanent. There is a form there. There is a feeling there. That feeling is impermanent. So his wisdom is developed in a proper way. Then he will achieve the liberation. This is the fourth meditation. Then with that enlightenment mind, Supreme Buddha explains the fifth meditation, Marana Sati. Marana Sati means mindfulness of death. These are very important things. How to do the mindfulness of the meditation of mindfulness of death? The ordinary people, they do not like even to talk about death. They will say, oh, no, don't talk about death. We are very young, they will say. But there isn't a guarantee with the death. That's why Buddha explains, Ajjeva Kichchang Atappa. You must make your efforts to understand this Dhamma today itself. Ko janya maranam sui. Who knows tomorrow the death will come to you. And there is a way of developing this mindfulness of death. It's a meditation. Now can you understand the 5 meditations with the 2 noble disciples? If they haven't a concentrated mind as a noble disciple, then they must develop these 5 meditations. Then Buddha explains, if they develop these 5 meditations, then with maximum 7 lives, they will achieve the liberation, Nibbana. So what is the first one? Asubha, fallenness of body. Second one, Ahare Patikula Sanya, fallenness of food. Then Anicca Sanya, perception of impermanence. Then Sabbaloke Anabhirata Sanya, disenchanting it all worlds. Last one, Marana Sati, mindfulness of death. How to do the mindfulness of death? That meditation. Buddha explains in this way. Now think about this one. Oh monks, if you develop the mindfulness of death, then it will bring great fruit and benefit. Ends in the deathless. What's the meaning of ending with deathless? He will achieve the Nibbana. This is the way. Buddha explains, when the day, in the morning, when he gets up, he thinks, he reflects. There are many reasons and causes for my death. A snake or any other animal may sting me. Can you understand? And because of that reason, then I may die. Then I may stumble and fall. Because of that reason, I may die in this morning. Then the food I ate will not digest well. So then, because of that reason, I may die. Or any kind of disease or illness will be a reason for my death. Then, because of a human, think about this one, or non-human, humans or non-humans may kill me. Then I may die. If I will have to die with a defiled mind, then it's not a proper death. It's not a good thing. Because if I will have to die with a defiled mind, then my destination will not be a good one. So then the Blessed One explains, thinking, reflecting in this way, so you must make your effort to abandon unwholesome things. You must make your effort to cultivate wholesome things. This is the way of developing the mindfulness of death. Then in the morning, you reflect in this way. Then in the evening also, in the daytime and in the evening, you reflect in this same way. There are so many reasons, so many causes, accidents, and so many situations, problems will come to our life, then we will have to face for the death. There isn't a guarantee. Thinking in this way, is it the truth of fasting? Is the truth? Is the real nature of this life? Though we think in this way, or if we don't think, we can't escape from death. But we are very lucky because we can think the real nature. So then that thinking will help us to develop our wisdom. That is the only thing. Otherwise, the ordinary people who don't know this Dhamma, they also will have to face for the death without developing their mindfulness and wisdom. This is the final result. So now, is it clear developing the way of developing mindfulness of death? Okay. So these are the 5 meditations. These 5 meditations should be developed by those disciples, 2 disciples. Then Buddha explains they will achieve the concentrated mind by developing these meditations. Is it clear? Okay. So when we consider about the liberation of Arahant Sariputta, do you know the progress? He achieved the liberation. Arahant Sariputta, the chief disciple of Buddha, the greatest wisdom. Second one, Sukha-patipada Kippa-vinya. Arahant Sariputta achieved the liberation from the second way of practicing. What is the second way? Practicing the way with the pleasant way, and the realization is fast. In one sutta, Diganaka Sutta, in Middle and Discourses, there came another recluse to meet Buddha, and Buddha was sitting in a cave. It's called Sukarakata cave in Gijjakuta, the Peaks mountain in Gijjakuta, in Rajagiri. Then he came and then he was discussing with Buddha about feeling. Then Buddha was explaining his teachings about feeling. Then at that place the Sariputta Venerable Sariputta, at that moment he wasn't an arhat. Following this path, then he was fanning to Buddha. Can you understand? Then while Buddha was giving his Dhamma talk to this person, his name is Diganaka, and he was relative of Sariputta. Then Venerable Sariputta Bhante was listening to that teaching. At the same time he was fanning to Buddha. So at the end of the discourse, that Diganaka, that recluse, achieved the Sotapanna, stream entrant stage. Then the Venerable Sariputta achieved the Arhancy. It is called Sukha Patipada Kippa Vinya. Then the other chief disciples, Moggallana, Arhat Moggallana, followed the fourth one. What is the fourth one? Dukkha Patipada Kippa Vinya. Because when he was following the path, he had to struggle with his drowsiness, sleepy mind, nodding. Then Buddha advised him, "Oh Moggallana, are you nodding? Are you nodding? Keep your mindfulness, keep your mindfulness." Then Buddha helped in Pachalayatana Sutta. Then with the help of Buddha, Arahant Moggallana achieved the liberation. Okay? Can you understand? So I gave some examples to you. Anyway, today we are going to discuss a sutta from that Arhat Sariputta. Okay? So today this discourse is Sariputta Sihanada Sutta from Numerical Discourses. Sariputta Sihanada means the lion's roar of Arahant Sariputta. Is it clear? Okay. Now let's see what is this Arahant Sariputta's lion's roar. This is very important because in this sutta we can understand the practical way that when we learn this Dhamma, the way we must apply this Dhamma to our whole life. On one occasion, the Supreme Buddha was staying at Jeta's grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Then Arahant Sariputta came near to Buddha and paid homage. Having paid homage, Arahant Sariputta sat to one side. Then Arahant Sariputta asked for a permission from Buddha. Venerable Sariputta asked from Buddha, "Bhante, now I have completed the rainy season, the rains retreat. You know, Vassana Kala, Vassavaso. I have completed the rains retreat. Ichamaham Bhante Janapada Charikam Pakkamitu. Bhante, now I like to go for walking. You know, those days they didn't live in one place. After the rainy season, they were walking throughout the country and throughout the cities, preaching the Dhamma to others. So then Arahant Sariputta wanted to get this permission to go from that place. It's called country journey, Janapada Charika, country journey. So then the Blessed One, Supreme Buddha, gave the permission. Sariputta, whenever you are ready, then you may go. With that permission, then the Venerable Sariputta was very happy, then rose from his seat, saluted the Blessed One, then he departed. Soon after the Arahant Sariputta had left, another monk came near to Buddha. And that monk said to the Blessed One, Bhante, Sariputta, Ayasma Sariputta, Venerable Sariputta has hit me and he has left on his journey without an apology. This was the complaint. Okay? How did he complain? Venerable Sariputta hit him and then, without an apology, then he left for a country journey. Then Blessed One called another monk. Come here. You go and meet Venerable Sariputta. Now, Venerable Sariputta, he didn't know about these things, so he was preparing his ball, shops and all other things to go, that walking, country journey. Then Blessed One called another monk and said, Go monk, and called the Venerable Sariputta, saying, the Master, the Blessed One calls you. Then that monk went and gave the message. Then Venerable Sariputta responded, saying, Yes, friend. Okay, then I will come. Then at that moment, the Venerable Mahamoggallana and Venerable Ananda, taking the keys of the kutis, kuti rooms, the monks, the resident monks, they are in their kutis. Then taking those keys, they went to all the kutis, saying, Come Bhante, come reverencers, for today the Venerable Sariputta will utter lion's roar in the presence of the Buddha. Because they know about the real nature of an Arahant. Okay, so then they invited all other Venerable ones, all other Bhantes to come to listen this lion's roar. Okay, then the Venerable Sariputta approached the Blessed One and paid homage. Then Buddha said to the Arahant Sariputta, now here your fellow monk, he complained me that you hit him and without an apology you left. Now you are ready to go that country journey. This is the complaint. So now what do you have to do? What do you have to say? From this point, now we can listen to that lion's roar of Arahant Sariputta. At the presence of Buddha, then Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, Yaksanona Bhante Kaya Gata Sati Anupattitasa. Bhante, if someone has on the mindfulness of body, can you understand? If someone has on the mindfulness of body. What is the meaning here, mindfulness of body? The mindfulness regarding the real nature of the body. Can you understand? Okay. Now there are in the Satara Satipatthana, 4 foundations of mindfulness. The first one, Kaya Anupassana, contemplating of body. That there is the way of thinking the real nature of the body. breathing meditation, with the help of breathing meditation, and then the way of understanding the movements of body, and the clear comprehension and mindfulness regarding all the activities of body, the impermanent movements of body. Then the meditation of elements, dhatu manasikara. Can you understand? Dividing the body into four elements: earth element, water element, fire element, and air element. Then the comparing this body with the dead body. Can you understand? All these things are the way of developing the mindfulness to understand the real nature of body. So here the Arahant Sariputta was explaining at the presence of Buddha, Bhante, if someone has the mindfulness of body, then he may hit to a fellow monk and he will live without an apology. Can you understand? Such a person will live without an apology. But, Bhante, it is like this. Just as people throw the things onto the earth, clean things and unclean things. They throw excrement onto the earth. They throw urine onto the earth. They throw spittle, they throw pus, they throw blood. But the earth hasn't a revulsion, because the earth doesn't refuse those things. Oh, don't put these things. You put only the good things. Do the earth say in that way? No. So the Blessed One explains. So the Arahant Sariputta says, just as this earth, Bhante, I live with the heart, with the mind. Here there is that word, Patavi Samano. I live with the mind like the earth. I live without hostility and without ill will. I live with the mind like the earth. Can you understand? What is the meaning here? Like that earth doesn't blame to anyone who throw unclean things on the earth, and like the earth doesn't praise to the people who throw clean things onto the earth. I live with a mind like the earth. What's the meaning here? Anyone can blame, anyone can praise, but because of that blaming, no one can arouse anger in Arahant Sariputta's mind. Can you understand? Then again Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, if someone has on the mindfulness of body, such a monk will live hitting a fellow monk without an apology. But Bhante, just as Bhante, people use water to wash things clean and unclean. They use water, the things soiled with excrement and urine, spittle, pus and blood. They put these unclean things to the water. But because of this thing, the water hasn't a revulsion. Water doesn't refuse these things. Or you put only the good things. You wash only the good things. You don't wash bad, unclean things. In this way, the water doesn't say, Bhante, I live with a heart that is like water. Can you understand? I live without hostility and without ill will. I live with a mind full of loving kindness and compassion. Can you understand? So this is very important. That's why when others blame to us and when others insult us, then we get angry and we blame against them. Then we quarrel with them. Because we haven't developed a mind like the earth, like water. If someone can develop their mind like the earth and water, that is a developed mind. He can face for any situation when he lives in this society. This is the way the Arahants, they develop their mind. Then again Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, if someone hasn't the mindfulness of this body, such a person will live hitting to a fellow monk without an apology. But Bhante, just as Bhante, the fire burns things clean and unclean. Fire burns things soiled with excrement and urine. Fire burns things with spittle, pus and blood. But fire has no revulsion. Fire doesn't refuse those things. When the people throw anything to the fire, then fire burns. Bhante, I live with a heart that's like fire. Can you understand? That's like fire. I live without hostility. I live without ill will. I live with a mind full of loving kindness and compassion. Because I live with a heart that is like fire. Can you understand? Then Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, if someone hasn't the mindfulness of body, such a person will live without an apology by hitting a fellow monk. But Bhante, just as a duster wipes over things clean and unclean, soiled with excrement and urine, and duster wipes spittle, duster wipes pus and blood, but that duster has no repulsion. That duster doesn't refuse those things. No, I cannot wipe these things. I can wipe only the clean things. The duster doesn't say. Bhante, I live with a heart that's like a duster. That's like a duster. Think about this humble mind. Now who is this? The chief disciple of Buddha. And he is the greatest disciple with higher wisdom in this dispensation. Again Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, just as an outcast boy or girl, like a beggar, and that boy, that beggar goes with basket or something like that, asking for some food. With a humble heart, Bhante, even so, Bhante, I live with a mind like that is like an outcast boy. Can you understand? This is the nature of that Arhat's mind. Humble mind. If that is not a humble mind, what is there? Conceit. What is that? Called the conceit. Conceit means they do not like to listen to others. When the noble disciples and when the true friends, when they are going to advise to that person, they say, no, I don't want your advices. This is the nature of conceit. Buddha explains, if someone's mind, if there is that conceit, then he will miss this opportunity of understanding this Dhamma. Because there should be a humble mind to understand this Dhamma. There should be a respect of that noble disciples. Otherwise, no one can follow this Dhamma. I can remember in one sutta, in so many suttas, Buddha explains there should be some factors to understand this Dhamma. The first one is Ujujatiko. That person who comes to meet Buddha should be a straight person. Uju. Straight, not a cunning person. With a humble mind. A straight person. Can you understand? It is a quality. So, Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, if someone hasn't the mindfulness of body, such a person will live hitting a fellow monk without an apology. But Bhante, now all the monks, they are listening now to this lion's roar. Okay? Bhante, just as a bull, bull with his horse cut, well tamed and well trained. When that bull is roaming here and there, from street to street, from city to city, from province to province, that bull will not kick to anyone. That bull will not harm to anyone. Why? Cut horn. That bull is with cut, horns cut. So, even so, Bhante, I live like a bull with horns cut. I live with a mind free of hostility and without ill will. I live with a mind full of loving kindness and compassion. So what is that simile? To explain the way of his living? Like a bull. Like a bull with cut horns. These are good lessons to our life. Can you understand? Yes. Then Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, just as a woman or a man, or young, youthful and boy or a girl, then having washed his or her head, then now that boy or girl is ready to go for some party or to enjoy with beautiful dresses and with ornaments, then at that moment some dead body of a snake or dead body of a dog If someone throws a dead body of a snake onto that boy or girl's neck, what will he do? As soon as possible, he will throw away, taking that one. Even so, Bhante, I live filled with revulsion and disgust for this foul body. I live with a disenchanted mind about this foul body. Foul body of mind. Can you understand? Because as an Arahant, they have the real knowledge about this body. So they do not like to enjoy with this body. This body is an obstacle to them. That's why they explain, I haven't a desire to live. I haven't a desire to die. They explain. I haven't a desire to live. I haven't a desire to die. Like a person who is expecting the salary of that month. I am looking forward for the death. The Arahants, they explain. Because other people, they live to enjoy with their body. But Arahants, they have understood the real nature of this body. So this body is an obstacle to them. Can you understand? Because they have achieved the Nibbana from their mind. They live with that liberation. So Arahant Sariputta explains, Bhante, I am filled with revulsion for this foul body of mine. However, Bhante, if someone hasn't the mindfulness of body, such a person will live hitting a fellow monk without an apology. Bhante, if some person were to carry a ball of liquid fat, liquid fat, okay, so then that is full of holes. That basket is full of holes. Then what will happen? That liquid oozing and dripping. So Bhante, I carry this body here and there. It's full of holes, oozing and dripping. From 9 doors in this body, the 4 things are oozing and dripping. However, Bhante, if someone hasn't the mindfulness of this body, such a person will go without an apology by hitting a fellow monk. Can you understand now the understanding the real nature? Now, in this way, the Arahant Sariputta explained his understanding in the presence of Buddha. So then, now that monk who did that complaint, he was sitting there. Now what do you think? After this explanation, then that monk, accusing monk, rose from his seat and arranged his upper robe, then paid homage to Blessed One, saying, Bhante, I committed a great offense. Bhante, where I was so foolish, I was so stupid, and I accused Venerable Sariputta falsely, wrongly and untruthfully. Bhante, let Bhante forgive me. Then the Blessed One says, yes, truly monk, you committed a great offense. You complained me about Venerable Sariputta falsely, wrongly. So, but anyway, now you have understood your fault. So, now I can give the forgiveness. So then the Buddha turned to the Venerable Sariputta and said, Sariputta, forgive this foolish man. Forgive this foolish man. Kama Sariputta imasa Moga Purisa. Moga Purisa means is the way Buddha advised for a foolish person. Moga Purisa. Sariputta, you forgive this foolish man. On this very spot, on this seat, before his head splits into 7 pieces, because such an offense. He complained wrongly about an arahant. That is the reason. That is not a creation of Buddha, it's karma. That karma has arranged at the same moment. Buddha noticed that one. Because of compassion, Buddha said that one. Because if the Arahant Sariputta didn't give the forgiveness to that person, that karma is dangerous one. That's why we must be very careful when we talk, when we say things about virtuous persons, because that karma is a great one. So we have to be very careful when we talk about persons, about monks, about virtuous persons. So then Arahant Sariputta, Kamaham Bhante tasayasmato sachemang soayasmayavaha. Bhante, if my fellow monk asks for the forgiveness from me, then I am ready to give the forgiveness. I shall forgive him. If he asks for my pardon, then Arahant Sariputta gave the forgiveness to that fellow monk. So this is the lion's roar of Arahant Sariputta. Is it clear? So this is a good lesson to our life. Could you understand? So how did that Arahant live? With a heart that's like the earth, like water, like fire, then like dust, then like a outcast boy, like a bull, cut horns. Can you understand? So the chief disciple, that's why they understood this life. I can remember in one discourse, Arahant Sariputta explained the way I think he developed the meditation in that sutta about earth, water, fire and wind. Arahant Sariputta explains, there comes a time this great earth vanishes. Can you understand? So then Arahant Sariputta asked from monks, what do you think? If this great earth vanishes one day, if this great earth is impermanent and subject to change, what about the earth element in this body? You don't consider this earth element as yours. You reflect wisely, this earth element is not mine. This earth element is not myself. This I am not. When you develop your wisdom as actually is, with that proper wisdom, then you become disenchanted with this earth element, then you will achieve the liberation. Can you understand? Arahant Sariputta advises. This great water element vanishes one day. The great ocean sinks step by step because of the sun. Then Arahant Sariputta asked, what about the water element in this body? In this Arahant Sariputta asked, this fire. Some seasons people cannot find the fire easily. Because what is the reason? That great fire is impermanent. Water is impermanent. And in some periods the wind is impermanent. They can't find. They have to use fans and other things. So what do you think about the water element, fire element, air element in this body? Don't consider those things as permanent. You reflect wisely. These elements are impermanent. These elements are not mine. These elements are not myself. Then you become disenchanted with those elements. With that proper wisdom, then you will achieve the liberation. In Mahahatipadopama Sutta, Middle Length Discourses. It's very interesting. So now we can understand the combination, the way Arahant Sariputta developed his mind, and now this result. Can you understand? This is the result. Then he had a mind like water, like earth, like fire, like duster, like a bull with cut horns. So it is very important to develop the mindfulness regarding the body, to understand the real nature of our life. Then that conceit, step by step, that conceit will be eradicated from our life. Then there will be a humble mind. That humble mind will help us to understand this Dhamma. Can you understand? Okay, this is the sutta of Sariputta Sihanada Sutta. Sihanada, that's where the lion's roar. Okay. Sihanada. Singanada in Sinhala. Yes. In Pali, Sihanada. Yes. So I like to bless you. May you have a humble mind and may you have the opportunity to have a mind like earth, water, fire, and like a duster. Then may you have the opportunity to understand Four Noble Truths in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. So, if you have any questions or anything to know, today we discussed about a lot of things about meditation. Yes, so you have to do those meditations at home. Okay, and you can do loving kindness meditation, breathing meditation. Today we discussed about impermanent meditation. Very important to develop our wisdom. Walking meditation. Very good. Okay. And in one sutta I can remember Buddha explains, we have discussed about that one. With the help of our lunch plate, can you remember in Atthiraga Sutta? If you can understand the real nature of your lunch plate, you will achieve the non-returner's stage in this very life. Anagami. Non-returner means you will not reborn in human world or Deva's world. You will be reborn in Brahma world, pure abode, spontaneously. Then having born there, then achieve the arahantship through your lunch plate. Okay. So it's very important. Don't miss this opportunity.
This Sutta you're reading out of what kind of book is that?
In English. Yes. There's a good translation in Middle Length Discourses by Bhikkhu Bodhi Bhante. Yes, Middle Length Discourses.
Where can we appreciate that, because I mean, reading it and coming to the sermon is better than, you know, it gives you a little bit more insight.
Yes, it's very important to read.
Is there an ISBN number?
Yes, I think Wisdom Publications.
Okay.
Yes, I can give you if you want those details. Yes. And middle length discourses, long length discourses, and those discourses. So you can listen. Okay. Any question?
You mentioned about the life that in previous something I wasn't here that previous
Lecture, sir.
The lifespan of human being there. I mean, was it a measurement in terms of our years that they were talking about? Because I'm just a very abstract question in terms of not questioning Dhamma, but from a science standpoint and from a evolution of man aspect of it.
But when we consider about those experiments of scientists, they do those experiments with the help of those bones, pieces of bones, and those things. It's a limited.
No, I appreciate that, but like to assume, the question that I have is that when they measured years.
When the Buddha measures the years, they use that kalpa, eons.
So the question is that kalpa compatible to our years? Because I'm just looking at a mixed interpretation of it in terms of is it truly comparatively like in your example you said 60,000 years?
Yes.
Or is it in kalpa years? A year might be different. You know, it's like
it's a long time period.
Yeah, but is it factual to I mean, when the Buddha referred to times of the ancients or whatever, what time frame was he referring to? Is it? I mean, he was here 2,500 years ago.
Yes.
In our modern years, if he refers to people having extended lifespan, that our lifespan is short, fair enough, but referring to beings who have 60,000 years.
Yes.
What time period are we referring to?
We can say only these things, so long. That's the thing, only thing.
Is your question with respect to is 1 year at
Yes.
this point
Yes,
the same as 1 year?
We can't say it that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You read it becomes that's doubtful.
That's right. That's right. That's the thing. The people they compare with the ordinary knowledge.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But we have to understand. Only thing is here. This is an enlightened one's knowledge.
Yes.
That's the thing. Okay. So that's why Buddha had that knowledge to recollect past lives for so many eons. That knowledge the ordinary people, they wouldn't know about that knowledge. So they can learn about these eons and so many long time periods by reading these sutras. Otherwise they can't understand. Okay. So 60,000 is Buddha explains lifespan about 80,000. 70,000, 80,000 and more than that in this, okay. And in the future human lifespan
or is it in a different state?
In the human lifespan. Okay. So that's the thing. Now step by step it's declining. And Buddha explains this 100 and 120 lifespan will be short to the 10. Okay. Then step by step this will increase. They explains all these things. This will increase up to the 80,000. They explains. So Buddha wanted to explain this long time period. Okay. Okay. So again and again, I like to say, don't miss this opportunity, because if you have to live for 60,000 years or 80,000 years, then we will have to die. Okay?
Many times.
Yes, many times. If we can't understand this Dhamma, then again and again we will have to be reborn. Not only the death, we will have to be reborn in hell, animal world and ghost world. So this is the opportunity. Okay? So you take that challenge. You are very lucky, we are very lucky, we have that merit. Okay? So most important thing is association with noble friends and listening to Dhamma. Then using your wise consideration, May you have the opportunity to understand this Dhamma. Okay, sit clear. May you be well and happy. Abhivadana Silissa Nitsang Vadda Pachayino Chattaro Dhamma Vadanti Ayuvano Skambalang Ayurarogi Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Inate Samijjato Sukhi Supatti. Okay, I will say. I just cannot say. You have to practice, okay? Now you are asking to share merit with Bhante and then asking for the forgiveness. If there are any offenses by body, speech and mind, then I am going to forgive you. You say after me, Okasa Vandami Bhante Maya Katam Punyam Samina Anumoditabban Samina Katam Punyam Maihan Databban Sadhu Sadhu Anumodami Okasa Dwaratena Katang Sabbang Achayang Kamatame Bhante Okasa Kamami Bhante Dutiyampi Okasa Kamami Bhante Tatiyampi Okasa Kamami Bhante Sukhi Supatti. Hemmadinatama Thiruvan Saranai. Son, now you have a challenge to be like the earth, like water.
Obviously, the developing, you have to accept, when people say bad things to you, you still get angry and things.
You have to have a mind with loving kindness and compassion, impermanent nature, these things, okay? Don't blame to your mother and father when they advise us, okay? Then you try to be a earth,